Okay, so I'm going to paint a picture for you here. You're out with a group of people that you don't really know, friends of friends, your husband's coworkers, maybe a group of people that you only end up with about once or twice a year. And now everyone's chatting about work projects, promotions, crazy office dynamics, who's switching jobs, who's burnt out, all the usual stuff. You're listening, you're smiling, you're adding a comment maybe here and there, but their world feels miles and miles away from where you are at. They're talking deadlines and back-to-back meetings in the office, and you're thinking about the chicken you laid out for dinner and whether the toddler napped long enough to make bedtime smooth tonight. Then someone turns to you and they ask you, "So what do you do? What do you do for work?" And you answer honestly, "I stay home with our kids." And then there's this tiny pause. It's not rude, it's not necessarily dramatic, but there's just this little moment where you can tell that the people around you don't fully know what to do with that answer you gave them. They're not trying to be disrespectful to you, but they really, honestly, they just don't get it. You are the odd one out. And in that conversation, in that group, you might even feel a little bit like the black sheep. Not because you're unsure of your role and what you're doing in your role, but because everyone else assumes that your days are just you sitting on the couch in pajamas, drinking coffee, strolling through your to-do list whenever you feel like it. And you walk away thinking to yourself, it is wild how misunderstood this role still is. Like people genuinely believe that being home is the easier option, but you also know that that is not the truth. Your days are full. Your presence matters. Your contribution runs deeper than any job description ever could. But still, why is it so hard for other people to see that? Welcome to the Modern Homemaker Mom podcast. I'm your host, Jynae Schmidt. If you found yourself here, it means that you're ready to break free from overwhelm, create a peaceful, well-run home, and finally live with more structure, margin, and stability. Here you'll find practical rhythms, real-life systems, and faith-filled encouragement you need to simplify your home and reclaim your time so that you can show up fully for the life God is calling you to. Let's get started. Okay, so let's talk about the real issue at hand here. People are used to valuing things that they can see, things like numbers, achievements, actual physical results of things. But what you do at home as a homemaker runs so much deeper than that. It's the steady work that keeps your family grounded, even if nobody outside of your home is seeing it. And because the work that you're doing at home doesn't show up on a payroll system or get announced at those company meetings, it's so easy for other people to underestimate it, and sometimes even for you to underestimate it too. Now, the real problem isn't that homemaking lacks value at all, like absolutely not. The problem is that we have been conditioned to look for value in all the wrong places, and people assume that what you do isn't real work because they're not seeing the impact. But just because something isn't actually visible or tangible doesn't mean that it's small. Some of the most important work out there that's going on in this world happens where nobody's clapping. Now, to tie in a little bit of a story here, back when I was 5, literally 5 years old. In fact, I might have even been younger than 5. I used to tell people that I wanted to be a mom when I grew up. I didn't want to be a doctor, not a teacher, the things that all little kids want to be. I just wanted to be a mom. Like, that's all that my little heart desired. And that, honestly, it never really changed. All through school, into high school, as I started getting older, when people started asking that big question that everyone's asking people as they're getting close to graduating these days, what's next for you? What's your next step? I didn't have some corporate dream tucked in my back pocket. I didn't have this dream of going to college and getting this degree or that degree, whatever. I just wanted to have a family. I just wanted to get married and have a husband that I loved as my best friend, kids that I could pour into, and a home that I could create and care for and nurture. And that answer didn't always land super well with people. I would say to people, I want to be a mom. I want to be a homemaker. And I would get responses like, a half smile, half confused look, like they weren't sure if I was serious or maybe if I just lacked this ambition in life. And even later on, when I did get married and I was still working 9 to 5 for a little while, staying home was something that my husband and I talked about long before we were even married or even engaged. We talked about this early on in our dating times. And it's not because I wanted the easy way out. It's not because I wanted, as some would put it, an easy life. It's not because I wanted to avoid work, because believe me, I'm a very hard worker. But it's because this was the work I felt called to. And my husband could see the value in that just as much as I did. But that did not stop all of the very discouraging comments over the years. There was actually a time recently, like very recently, I was in a group conversation and we were talking about taxes. And someone asked a simple question. I answered the question. Someone else answered the question differently than how I answered it. And the person asking the question said, well, I'm going to trust the one with the job. As if having a paycheck, going to a 9-to-5 made that person more capable than I am, more smart, more intelligent, more credible. And you know what? I actually ended up being right with my answer. The other answer was not correct. But honestly, that wasn't even the point. What bothered me was how quickly people assume that as a stay-at-home mom, that you just don't know anything outside of changing diapers and meal planning. Moments like that can honestly really chip away at you if you let them. And I'm sure listening to my story, you've maybe had similar situations in your own life. And what those moments can do is make you question your contribution, your knowledge, your relevance, even when you know that you're doing the exact thing that you were designed to do. But this is what has helped me and what has really changed things for me is the more I study scripture and studied God's design for women, the more clarity I've gained, and clarity builds that confidence back up. And I started to understand that being home was not being less than. It wasn't not good enough. It was not a backup plan. It wasn't wasting my potential. It was this very foundational work. And that work that is not loud, it's not in your face. You're not seeing it on paper, but it's long lasting. Now, here's a shift that is going to help change everything. When you start seeing your homemaking as contribution rather than sacrifice, you're going to start walking through your days differently, because homemaking isn't just running the house. It's establishing that stability that everyone in your family is standing on and really craves. Your presence creates rhythm. Your consistency creates safety, and your leadership is creating culture. And when you understand that your home is your ministry, that beautiful ministry God's called you to, and your influence is shaping the adults your children are going to grow into, your confidence stops coming from what other people think and what other people are saying to you, and it starts coming from what you know. And this isn't about trying to convince yourself that what you do as a homemaker, as a stay-at-home mom, is enough. It's about seeing that real impact your home runs on every day because of you. The routines, that emotional tone, the order, it doesn't happen by accident. Your role is what keeps your home steady, and that's something that nobody else can replace. Now, here's the cost of not understanding this concept. When you don't recognize your contribution, you move through your days constantly second-guessing yourself. You shrink in those little social gatherings. You downplay what you do. You compare your life to women whose lives aren't supposed to look like yours, and you end up trying to earn that validation for a role that was never meant to be validated by the world's way of doing things. And slowly, your confidence that you should feel in your calling gets replaced with hesitation. Not because you're unsure of yourself, but because you've been pressured to measure your value in a way that was never meant for you. But this is what I want you to picture in your mind. You walk into those same rooms, the room I'm talking about when I first opened up this episode, that example I was talking about. You walk into that same room, the one where everyone's talking careers, salaries, projects, and you don't shrink back. You don't apologize. You don't feel the need to justify your choices or the things that you do as a mom, because you understand that your role is not small. It's incredibly foundational. You see your home as this ecosystem that you're in charge of. You recognize that the emotional stability of your family, the tone of your home, the structure of your days, those things don't just happen. They exist because of you. You show up in your role with confidence. You're not being arrogant. You're not being defensive, but you have this certainty in you that says that you are building something real here. Because the truth is, the work that you do at home shapes the long-term health of your marriage, the emotional security of your kids, and the atmosphere that everyone else comes back to at the end of the day. That is leadership. That is contribution. That is seriously true value. And when you see it that way, you don't need anybody else in this world to understand it because you understand it. So if you've ever walked away from a conversation feeling misunderstood or undervalued, like in the story I talked about today where I felt those exact things, I want you to remember this. Your work at home is not invisible. It's not small. It's not less than. It's very foundational. And if this conversation today stirred something in you, if you want to take this confidence and anchor it into a way that you lead and structure your home, I want you to hop on the Modern Homemaker Method waitlist. The doors to this program will be opening again in early 2026, but everybody on my waitlist gets first access, exclusive bonuses, and the only discount I'll be offering when that enrollment opens back up. If you know that this is the direction you want to grow in, go add your name to the waitlist. That way you won't miss anything that's coming up. The link is in the show notes for you to join, or you can go straight to jynaeschmid.com/waitlist. Now, closing everything up today, what I want you to walk away remembering is that you're not behind. You're not just a stay-at-home mom, as some people put it. You are a homemaker, and your contribution matters more than most people realize. I want you to own that. I want you to walk in that, and I want you to lead from that because you are building a legacy, one ordinary, one mundane day at a time. Now, if today's episode make you feel like I was speaking your language, like I could hear those real, raw and honest thoughts in your head, don't forget to hit that follow button and share this episode with another homemaking mama who could use the same encouragement. And I will see you again next week for another episode here on the Modern Homemaker Mom podcast. Did something in today's episode encourage you? If it did, would you take a minute to hit subscribe and leave a quick review? It's such a simple way to support this show and help other homemakers find this encouragement as well. And if you're looking for even more support in your homemaking journey, come join our free Facebook group. Just head over to bit.ly/home routines. Thanks for tuning in today. I'll see you in the next episode.